All right. So you got to turn the mic on and the camera on again. They make us
Hey.
do it again. All right. Richard, Clay, Alex, Kiva's here.
Hello.
Nice. Well,
There we go.
awesome. You made it, man. Really great. This is going to be totally epic. Totally epic. Thank you, everybody. We're in day two, deep in the middle of day two of HandyCon 3, 2023. And this is going to be a great session. Case studies of TLD owners staking. I think we just finished the Impervious session with Dot Records and Zach and Steve at Impervious. That was an amazing one. There's a lot coming today. We have a great lineup of people in various different ecosystems and technologies to share, what they're working on, their experiences, technologies. I think maybe we'll just share the stage. Clay, do you want to start? I see top left, then Kiba, Richard, Alex.
Yeah, okay? Sure. So I could introduce myself. My name is Clay Collins. I own .c.1, .zen, and .contract. And I believe .c is the second.
Yes,
actually,
.star came out of nowhere and has gone skyrocketing.
Right. So I know that's number one, but I don't know if it's number one in terms of revenue. Maybe it is. Anyway, so it's one or two. .c's number one or two. It was one for a while. I don't know if they're giving away those .stars, but
that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, maybe someone here knows. So that's been a good time. Been involved for years now. And it's been fun watching the community develop.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I really appreciate your contributions and involvement. Okay, I'll share the shake.xyz/SLDs will show you the leaderboards. But yeah, Kiba, next. I'm really happy to have you here.
Yeah, good to see you guys again. So like a bit about me. I'm an old Handshake person, was kind of here on launch, and then I ran the Handshake Development Fund, which kind of gave grants out to people like Bob Wallet or Mike, you got some, and other people people in the community to just do their thing, and have Handshake be a cool place to be and hang out. And I also made one of the Discord groups that maybe people hang out in. And for me, for Handshake staking stuff that I'm interested in is mostly like the social layer stuff. So maybe like .tx would be a good example. I don't think the owner is on this call. But yeah, just kind of like local community oriented stuff, making it kind of social. I think that's why we all like names, is because we feel like they represent something. And so I think for me, like the more valuable thing isn't like selling SLDs, but it's like creating a community that uses, like, actually believes in the name, or like the name is them, it identifies them. I think is the most valuable thing.
True. Yeah, we'll dive into that. That's a great topic. You can take note. Richard, you want to go next? A little intro.
Yeah. I first discovered Handshake a couple of weeks before last year's HandyCon. Went super deep. It's kind of what I do when I find a new topic I'm interested in. Instantly kind of saw the potential of being able to sell SLDs and generate income from owning your own TLD. Kind of been into traditional ICANN domaining a little bit for a couple of years before. Started making some bids on some premium domains, didn't get anywhere. Ponied up for 50,000 HNS back a year ago, kind of at the top of the market.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a top buy, and picked up .lazy. And I've been wanting to sell SLDs, to stake it and sell SLDs ever since, but I still haven't. I've been waiting for new developments to come online, like the HNS.id. I really think when we get into, obviously, and I won't take too much for this intro, but like decentralized SLDs is a really big deal.
For sure.
And it just unlocks so much. And I know Impervious has done a great job, and it's really interesting to me, but I'm still waiting on what namebase is going to be launching to make a decision. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Richard. And last but not least, of course, Alex.
Hey everyone. I'm Alex. I'm a product designer at Namebase, previously on Namecheap, so still within the same ecosystem, I guess. And I also was the founder of HNS Switch, so the commercial you saw before. If you want to know more about that, we can chat offline. And I got into Handshake because basically Namecheap got into Handshake. That's when I first discovered it, and I kind of went into staking as an experiment, and it's going well. So I'm here to share my experiences.
.reach, right? Is your main TLD?
Yeah. So it's .reach and .researcher. Those are the two main.
.researcher. Yeah, I think I have a .researcher. I always try to get the also like a little bit of a domain hack or short ones when I can. I'm like a big sucker. I buy like SLDs from everybody because like Kiba says, I try to think about it. Well, one is experimenting and supporting, but also it's like community. So maybe we should start with that topic, right? Like that's what I've said about Handshake since I first saw it too. It's an opportunity for communities to use them for their users and to share. So I think Kiba was kind of going into that. Maybe you can start with that and others want to add about,
Sure.
the opportunities for communities.
Yeah. I guess there's like different parts of it. Like one is giving like community members names and like identifying people by their names or SLDs or whatever. And the other one's like kind of building social apps using names like, HNS chat or, kind of like other coordination types of things. So yeah, I just think like and obviously those types of apps, social apps are network based because they're, social networks. And so combining that with the naming capabilities, I think is a really big opportunity to, identify people. I think we talk a lot about DID and stuff like that in Handshake, and then create apps, that are like more semantic or, do more interesting things like that.
Okay, great. Anybody want to add to this one? I mean, I know let's kind of keep a specialty, but just me to reiterate, the way I see it is you saw 2 points. One is like, people support artists or support a community of people and they want to just buy or even get it for free as their username. I actually like just saw Gutter Cat Gang. I know we're not all ETH people, but Gutter Cat Gang is having a lot of problems in their community, I think. And this, of course, dropping their NFT collections, collapsing is like below an ETH. They used to be a lot higher. And just yesterday, I'm winging this, but yesterday or the day before, they just offered, we would call it third level domains, but they're giving their cat collection free SLDs on .guttercat.eth. So you can get like mike.guttercat.eth only if you have the Guttercat main cat collection. And actually people in there are upset because they're like, I got a pigeon and I'm a puffer pigeon. I saw some guy who was a puffer pigeon. He's like, I got a puffer pigeon and I spent a lot of ETH and I don't get a subdomain, But I mean, obviously we're talking, this is Handshake, but I mean, it's still a very similar system, right? So they give those for free to holders of NFTs, of certain NFTs, which other NFT holders are like pissed about, which is kind of funny. And but I don't know, is that like an example for first one, Kiba, or others? I guess like giving them away, right? You don't have to sell them. You could use them as add-ons.
Yeah. So I just bought this other NFT the other day, which was by like one of the main artists for CryptoKitties, and it was like this like weird art thing they made. This AI generative art based on like a bunch of these .com era failed companies like Pets.com or whatever. And so you bought like one of these weird AI generated NFTs, which honestly weren't that good. But then you could then claim a domain name for one of these like fake, revived companies. So I think they've like petscom.eth or pets.eth or something like that. And then you could claim whatever. And then I found an exploit, actually. They have this like special CEO NFT. And then that's supposed to be like the CEO and they're like super special and whatever. And then I just bought this special NFT, this regular NFT. And then I claimed the SEO name or CEO name. And so now I'm like the quote unquote CEO because I have that name, but I don't have the CEO NFT, which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah, there's like tons of ways that you can like use these things and also, exploit them like I like to do.
Exploiting. Yeah, you're a very talented, technical guy. I appreciate it. So just so people know, Keep is the one that we had talked about Impervious earlier. I think you're one of the main contributors to the bridge of HIP5, which bridges Handshake TLDs cross chain.
Not really. That was all Zipkin that wrote HIP5. Like I had no idea how to do that. He actually kind of like made my thing work a lot better because I only needed to do like one thing, just the resolver, but like wasn't really connected, and he made it like actually connect. So I helped them with like the smart contracts and setting up ENS and how they like configured all of that. But then they did like a separate thing for the new Impervious registry that they do now. But I helped them review the contracts and stuff like that.
All roads lead back to Zipkin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zipkin's done so much for Handshake. Okay. let's go to Clay. I mean, everyone knows .c. Like I know, you're even in a chat about the .star stuff. But basically, what's been your experience? You've also got you also staked to Impervious. Maybe you could just share what you've been like the earliest.
Sure. Yeah. Let me see if I can share my screen here to the side.
Should be able to, yeah. There you go.
So some things going on. So first off, it's kind of interesting. So I'm showing here as having sold 7,472 subdomains. So that doesn't exactly match up with this, but maybe this is like active versus, I don't know, maybe they're counting different things. I think reporting in the space is going to be improving over time. Here's my earnings. I'd say on a decent month, I make 4 to 5K a month fairly passively from sales across everything, right? I only have 7 YOLO sales, but across everything, including the dot contract stuff as well. So this kind of look at my back panel. One thing I've been experimenting with recently is offering .1 domains for basically I get nothing. So it's I renewals like $15, but it's $2 to register them, and I get nothing from that. So if you go to my transaction history, you'll see like there's so many .1. Like right now, I'm getting 10 .1 registrations for every .c registration, and I think that's primarily economically driven at the moment. So over time, you can kind of see the 7-day increase in .1 is just growing at a much faster pace, and I really believe that probably .1 domains will exceed .c, especially since on Namecheap, if you do a search, you go to Handshake, they have their .p at the top, which they have every right to do. The first one underneath this is .1, and it's $1.98 to get a domain. And of course, in Circa and Pork Bun and others are all running the same price. I'm just very pleased with the placement here. So and I'm also I've got .contract domains on Impervious, and I'm a huge fan of the innovation they're doing there. So it's been a great journey. Like I can honestly say that I've made a lot more money than I put in terms of the initial investment, and I spent quite a bit on the initial .c and .zin auctions and .1 auctions to get those. So I'm up and have benefited greatly from all the infrastructure and legwork that everyone else has done. I will say that this year is probably the second or third quarter of this year. I'll probably make a full-time hire around marketing, and also I think probably 75% of their time will be marketing, and 25% will be around the broader Handshake ecosystem. So I do want to make sure that that I kind of give back through this position, because we have found some marketing channels that work and that we feel like are repeatable and scalable, and I've made enough so far and just kind of socked it all away that I can afford at least a year of somewhat a marketing person's salary. So I'm stoked about being more serious about this, putting more effort into marketing, and also putting more effort into marketing the entire ecosystem and doing some real biz dev there. I mean, I think it's high time that myself and a handful of others really start going all in on biz dev at the highest levels. Flying out steak dinners, and raising funds on the back end to the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars if we need to just kind of, if we can brute force, get some integrations done, because it's high time that start happening. But that's a topic for another day.
Well, Clay, what's number one type of integration you're thinking of? Wallet integration?
Browser
for the ones on Impervious and DSLDs that are coming, or
browser integration.
Okay, browser.
Yeah. There was some chat.
A wallet too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like we had some sessions yesterday about integrations, and of course, I think those are top two, right? Integrations with wallets, integration with browsers. Obviously, Handshake, I think we can all have to admit we're kind of lagging on those compared to other blockchain domain solutions as of now. But it's really great to hear you want to make those contributions and investments, Clay. Because somebody was saying, can't we just take a % of all SLD sales across the ecosystem and just tax it and then use that tax? I call it tax. He didn't call it tax, but I mean, I don't see who would, that could be a way, but I mean, you said stocking away the income to build it up to maybe hire people and invest in this, which is really, really exciting. Royalty.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's all, positioning, I guess, but yeah, I'm for that. I'm for a royalty, for the ecosystem.
Okay. So Alex, you want to just share some of your experiences with Reach? And, I think you got two sides. You're also in Namebase, but I think you're talking today mainly as your hat of your .reach or your .researcher. So do you want to just share your thought process of staking, and when you did it a little bit later than Clay did. So do you want to just go through your process experience?
Yeah. So I kind of came to this talk with the mindset that Clay also came into. So speaking about how can we make or upscale, being a TLD owner on Handshake, and integrations, I think, is the main thing. I totally agree with you, because I actually have something written here. Because I believe Handshake is more secure than the ICANN domains. Handshake, it's a decentralized alternative to certificate authorities. This means that it's more secure and it's difficult to censor. So one huge use case for me with browser integration is that, for example, and I say this to a lot of people, in China, you don't have access to Google. But if Google.c existed and had their website deployed in that domain, it would work in China and other countries that are censored. So I think this is one of the main things for me. And as our responsibility as TLD owners will be to help make this happen, and also help upscale our business by showing everybody the potential this has, not only for us, but also for these type of countries that don't have access to all websites, and they require a VPN to access the web. So that was one of the main things I wanted to talk about. The other thing is, for people that don't know what staking even is, because there are a few newcomers here.
I think it's true.
It's basically when you want to sell SLDs off your TLD. And I did not stake it for a while. I actually saw an interview with Clay and Mike on YouTube, which inspired me to try it. So thank you guys for that. Because the potential is huge, not only in terms of what it can do in terms of utility, but also in terms of, as Clay said, in terms of gains, right? So still today, .coms sell for millions of dollars, which is insane. Imagine being the owner of a TLD. Well, you can simply go to Namebase and buy one right now. But before this, it was not possible. It was almost impossible for anyone to even apply to own a TLD. So we allowed this to be open to everybody, and I think this is the best thing that Handshake is bringing, for sure.
Okay, let's bring it to Kiba. I know Kiba and others, even Steve Webb was on a previous session. He thinks not everybody should stake, right? Like, because there's 10 million, I think over 10 million now Handshake TLDs. I don't know what the definition is, minted or created. Obviously, do you think 10 million TLDs should be selling SLDs, or maybe I'll either Kiba, or maybe everybody. I know Kiva's kind of a little bit almost. I feel like you're a little bit anti SLD. I mean, when we're talking.
Yeah, that's kind of why I actually wanted to come and talk here, because I also knew just by the name and also what you guys who was on.
I know you're like on the other side.
Domains. But yeah, so I think, in my opinion, obviously it's just my opinion, that it's kind of a shame that the extent of what we consider like TLDs within the Handshake community is just like selling SLDs, and like that staking, which isn't even like really staking, is just the only purpose of it is to sell SLDs, which I don't think is the purpose of Handshake. We should actually be like using our domains, which is why I was talking about apps and communities and things like that, because that's what like Handshake, in my opinion, is actually for, is actually like doing things with other people and interacting with them, right? That's why we have domain names, is because it's easier to interact with other websites, but also this whole Web3 thing is like not just communicating with other, Web2 centralized servers on websites, is communicating with like other people directly. And so for me, Handshake TLDs is not about selling SLDs at all. And that's kind of like a shame that people do that, in my opinion. Not that it's like entirely bad, but I think there's just like a lot more interesting and innovative and cooler things that we could do that likely would also make you more money, because you're actually like making something new instead of just replicating an existing business model just with like a new namespace.
I'll let the others answer, but I want to just kind of bounce back a little bit to that. I mean, I think certain TLDs, like obviously there's some amazing ones Clay and others here have, but it's also a way to bootstrap. Like like Clay had said, he's been socking away the money, and he's going to use that to hire people and pay for integrations. I mean, which I think is pretty amazing, right? So I mean, in a way, that's kind of like the other side of that. I mean, of course, you said there's other ways you can make money with the TLD than selling SLDs, but I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing that we can kind of bootstrap, and as this community is about grassroots, and as we see, there's other alternative blockchain solutions that are the opposite of grassroots that exist. I mean, that's the other side of that argument, but I don't know if Richard. Maybe we come back to Richard with that, and I bet you, I know Clay has some thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on staking in general? Or
so. Yeah, I think we all want to see mass adoption of Handshake. And I come from an NFT trading background for the last couple of years, or 18 months or so. And for me, I really see what I've seen in NFTs, how a limited number of tokens, or a subset which you can build around a TLD can create communities. And also, there's a lot. I kind of view like decentralized SLDs as the way that Handshake can become mainstream. If NFT speculators, which is often seen as a dirty word, and traders, see the potential to make money, then they will come, and that will start to build awareness of what Handshake is. If people, like a year ago, last April, ENS domains went crazy. 4-digit ENS domains took off. They rose to 3 ETH, maybe even higher. Like the 10K club from ENS digits 1 to 10,000, and there was so much secondary trading, so much action, and so much interest in ENS because of the new way that people could obviously make money, but also build community. So if you had the 10K ENS domain, you could get access to a Discord community. That's pretty typical. But I kind of see if DSLDs really take off, it's going to get a lot of interest from existing NFT players, and then we can educate in terms of where these Ethereum tokens are rooted in the Handshake, rooted within Handshake, and we can educate in terms of why that's a better situation in terms of hosting websites than the alternatives on the market like ENS and Unstoppable. So I kind of view NFTs, decentralized SLDs, as the way that we can actually build a lot of interest in Handshake generally. So that's that, and then there's a lot of community aspects, a lot of innovation that you can do, and you can reach out to your DSLD holders. You can identify them. So yeah, that's my perspective. Yeah.
I shared your website. At least I remember you. I know you haven't launched still, but it's still worth. And then Lazy, I see your NFTs. I think behind you. Is there a Lazy Lion?
So yeah, like one of the first. In fact, the first NFT I bought was the Lazy Lion. That's how I kind of got into it. So they rose pretty big. Like a year ago, there were 3 ETH. They've fallen down to like 0.4 ETH floor now. But there's still kind of a core community. There's still like 5,000 unique holders, and so That's obviously something that I'm going to be targeting when I do launch. But there's other things that you can do with that name as well. But yeah, I'm excited in terms of like I'm a marketer. Like I learned a lot from Clay back in the day, from like lead pages and what Clay was doing. But there's a lot that I can kind of do in terms of marketing and selling these SLDs. But I think the amount of interest that it can actually put onto Handshake could be huge. So yeah, that's my perspective. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah.
So
Clay's
like
turn, definitely.
Yeah. So my take on this is like, so first and foremost, I'm super grateful to kind of like the very like the creators of Handshake, which came from like this very kind of hardcore, Bitcoin almost maximalist background, and so like there's no question that we wouldn't be where we are today without that kind of ethos. And I'm very happy that Handshake is proof of work, and just a number of the technical decisions that were made. I think that's really cool, and I think often people with strongly held opposing viewpoints make for a great community. So, I do not take offense in any way from like your comments, Kiba. I do think it's cool that we've kind of incentivized a lot of different experimentation. It's cool to see SLDs on Ethereum. It's cool to see these bridges. I imagine at some point there's going to be a token created for maybe a DAO for SLD owners on a given TLD. I have no plans on doing one. It sounds like a huge pain, really, but you could have a .c token that allows folks to vote. I think there's lots of interesting thoughts around multi-sig voting. So if you own an SLD, you get access to the ability to vote for the TLD, and so I think there's just it's an interesting way to economically incentivize a whole bunch of ways to go about things. Of course, there's a more traditional path with very centralized SLDs being sold on top of Handshake, which might not have ever been the intent from the beginning. So I think we're just going to see the whole spectrum, and I think that's a sign of a healthy ecosystem. But at the end of the day, it's really cool to see that unlike .eth and unlike the Unstoppable Domains community, we potentially can have entire communities, galvanized around various top level domains. It's interesting seeing what's happening with .records, with what Impervious is doing. Name Base is going to have their decentralized, alternative as well. And I think that SLDs, for me, at the end of the day, unlock the potential for just a whole bunch of different types of experimentation. I'm really glad that as a design choice, HNS does not prescribe how second level domains are done at all, because it's fostered a lot of experimentation and innovation. I think ultimately that's just going to push the space forward.
I think that's a great last point to just highlight. Is that's also what I liked about Handshake. While of course we have 10 minutes, while Kiba says he doesn't think that there should be SLDs, or maybe some people think it should be for like lazy lions, or it could just be a cool like SLD, or I can put it on Ethereum like with Impervious, or I can stake it with Namebase through to Namecheap, or I think that's the beauty of Handshake, cross chain, and your choice as a TLD owner of where you think is best for the use of that. Alex, what do you think? I don't know if I want you. Should we put your Namebase hat on here, or are we just talking as a .reach person? But there are questions in the audience. I'm not going to pin them, but they're asking about layer 2 solutions on ETH. They're talking about other issues. There's some people that are talking about the Namebase, some of the Namebase clogging or issues and stuff like that. I don't want to, but of course there's been there's a lot going on. It's still early stage, but do you want to? I mean, I could even answer some of that, but do you want to answer some of that a little bit? I don't. Or am I throwing it out here?
Are you asking me to answer Q&A?
There's two questions. One is a layer 2 on ETH solution. And then the other is somebody's just disappointed about the glitches that they see over the months in I think he means name base, but he's saying a lot of people think Handshake is name base because most people use name base. So those are two kind of questions I see from the list.
Okay, so regarding layer 2, that's a great question to ask Aaron tomorrow.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm not so technical.
Name base will have a whole dedicated session with Aaron, the
Yeah.
CTO, and they'll be answering all of this.
Regarding the glitches, when we bought Namecheap bought Namebase, it had some issues, and it took a long time for us to get it back and running again, smoothly. And we're still working on it. We're improving the platform not only in the backend but also as new features come out. And Clay even did a spoiler alert by sharing the screen, but Aaron will talk about that feature tomorrow, the registry manager. And more. It's okay. There's still more things to come, more improvements to the dashboard, to the domain manager, and try to make it a better experience for people that are wanting to use their Handshake domains, Handshake names. In regards to Kiva, I feel that there are a lot of use cases for Handshake TLDs. SLDs is one way. And as I said, I came into this experimenting. So I do have TLDs reserved for that specific thing. So for example, I have my name as a TLD. I will never sell SLDs of my name because I'm trying to experiment with the applications of owning that TLD when utility comes for that.
Your full first name, last name, or are you talking about your family name? Because they're super linked now. Your family name or your full name, just to clarify.
AlexNet.AlexNet. Just Alex was not available, unfortunately.
Well, even that, I hope I say it all right. Neto. I mean the family name. Mm-hmm. Okay. Kibo, it's just tough. There's so many great people, so many great topics, and we have a few minutes left. But what are your thoughts on those points? I mean, what do you think about Handshake? What's it going to take to get you back involved? How can we get you back building a Handshake? What are we going to do? What's it going to take?
Yeah. So I can answer the ETL2 question quickly, and then I can talk about, HNS and me, I guess. But like Clay just said, the nice thing about Handshake is that it's just a TLD or a root zone, and we don't have to worry about the SLD stuff. So you can just replicate the Impervious registry and just deploy it to an L2 like Arbitrum, and you can do that super easily. That's what Impervious has already done. They have one registry for Badass, and they have another registry for everyone else. And they have a separate one for .forever. So you can easily just redeploy.
Actually, they moved Forever into the same contract lately. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't know how they did it, but at least I think. But sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, that's the whole L2 thing. Is basically any platform is valid for Handshake. It could be a normal server, or it could be a smart contract address, or it could just be an IPFS file, or whatever you want. So it doesn't even have to be an L2. And then for me, so I think you guys are totally right that Handshake TLDs do have a ton of potential. And just the reason I left the Handshake community in general, didn't leave, whatever, and step back, was just because I felt like no one was actually building them. So yeah, there's all this potential, but I just felt like no one was actually trying to actualize it. So yeah, I have this app called HNS, which was a bridge, and it did go to L2s. Originally, I deployed it on the XDI network, which is now Gnosis chain. And now it's on Polygon. So you can actually deploy to both if you wanted to, XDI and Polygon, and have all of your domains there. And it works. I mean, people use it. A couple of people are awesome enough to test it, including you, Mike, I think. And so,
I've got something there.
That's how still a lot of people use it. It's just I didn't really feel like it was worth contributing to Handshake. There was just other stuff going on other places that I felt was more aligned with what I wanted to do, right? That wasn't just selling SLDs and people that are actually experimenting and actually trying new things. And stuff like that. So that's the main reason I don't contribute, but I'm still open. And
Okay. There's a lot, man. I mean, we just don't have time right in this 5 minutes, but I want to maybe go around the room. There's great people. Some people are asking tips. So, I still think, I know Keep is on one side, but still the majority wants to sell SLDs. So I think for this panel, what are some tips? Like Lazy, you have the domain, you're collecting lists, you've been collecting your emails, right? But you still haven't even launched. You haven't picked where to go, but you're collecting emails. I mean, you're a marketer, so you're building up that list, which we've learned from Clay in early days, right? Building up a list. Or do you want to share something?
Build my opt-in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've collected some emails. People have said which domains they want to register first. I think there's just huge potential. I don't really, looking at the Shake TLDs list, we're still at the top 20, 25, near the bottom is still like a couple of hundred sales. Like, we're so early. I feel that if you can identify, if you can build a brand around your TLD, identify a community or an audience that is going to resonate with it, and you're able to reach out to those, I think that there's huge opportunity, especially if you've done a lot of internet marketing previously and audience building, and so like I'm personally focused on I've got a lot of different newsletters. That's my main business now, and it's the same skill set. It's how do you get new subscribers? You can have affiliate programs, you can have referral programs, you can offer incentives for people to refer traffic or customers to you. Free gifts, free rewards. It's all these kind of things that you can apply to selling SLDs. So people that have experience with online marketing, online business, that can pick up a TLD, can identify an audience. I think there's huge potential, and it's still not really been done. But like I know we're running out of time, but like Clay, like your contract on Impervious.
Let's hear from Clay. I think
I'd love to hear where those sales are coming from, whether you've done anything.
So I think there's a bunch of opportunistic sales for .contract at first when it launches. People trying to grab the best, the best names there as they first become available. What I've seen work the best so far is just engaging on Twitter. So having your brand, tweet out lists of domains that have been sold recently, and just being part of the conversation. Ultimately, I think I think the big opportunity here exists if we can get a browser. Like if we got, I'd potentially be interested in talking to Brave and saying like, hey, can we split .c 50/50, and then you can sell these, or it doesn't even have to be Brave, and it doesn't have to be .c. But at some point, if someone with a lot of leverage owns a top level domain and sees an income opportunity from selling SLDs on top of it, I think that's going to be another adoption kicker. I mean, obviously, it was a huge gain for the space when Namecheap got involved, but I think people need incentives to align. I think the best channel right now is just Twitter. That's what's worked the best for me. Be really active on Twitter, and there's a bunch of tactics you can try out there. Kind of plug in my own self, but if you want to see sort of a case study of how we've done it for .c, follow the .c account. We haven't been active lately, but we're about to kick it up again. But that's an example of what's worked for us.
Great. And then last year, John Harrison was on here, and he's a good copywriter. So he's getting creative. So like one thing I saw is he'd retweet some viral tweet, and it would say like, it would be a summary of that topic his TLD. So like .sats is one of his in Handshake. So he'd say like stack.sats when he'd retweet like the tweet about like, the U.S. government's going to collapse or something or whatever. Yeah. So it would just be like a funny summary of the tweet as a TLD, and then he maybe even link to the registrar to get it, stuff like that. But yeah, also just the bot, right? To see this was just registered, that was just registered, right? Like most of these registrars are making Twitter bots to just show the recent sales, and it kind of hypes people up. Just like NFT sales, right? Like they see this sold, that sold, this sold, right? It's like gets people all
social proof,
FOMO, excited. Yeah. Social proof. Yep. Okay, I think we're at time, but I think we got a pretty good chunk in there, and I hope this was inspirational for people. I think the theme, like Richard said, is still super early. I think there's a lot of people like Richard with .lazy and great TLD still wondering where to go. Tomorrow, we're building up some interest to see what Namebase is going to be releasing. Impervious just gave us some insights and updates today on their .eth things. We're getting Kiba back involved, hopefully. But when Brave, hopefully soon. Talk to Brendan on Twitter. But I think that's it. I mean, I really appreciate all of you, and let's just keep on. I think we just got to join as a community and support each other. Even if we're not getting that SLD money from that sale, we help each other build up sales. Check that. I love the stats on the Shake, right? And it's making a little bit of like friendly competition, right? Like Clay's like, oh, who's the Stars guy? Him and Nick, Angry Mouse are chatting in the chat about it and things like that. I mean, I think that's kind of makes it a gamified and fun thing. So thank you all for sharing. And I think people can find you all. Mostly Twitter is probably the best, for finding you.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter.
Yep.
All right.
Mike, thanks for hosting.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
It was so much. I wish we had more time, but we got a lot covered. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.